Catherine, are you willing to keep me company this morning? There's just two of us young ones today. How are you? That's good. Well, I'm glad you're here. There's no circle, no. We have to imagine there's a circle. We have to imagine that Megan. Oh, good. Now I'm not the oldest. Yeah, wouldn't that be funny? Well, I'm glad there's a few here because this is a really old story, but it's a brand new story that hasn't been told before, and so there's lots of fun things in this box today. Yeah, your eyes just got really wide. And this story starts where so many of our stories start, in that land that we know as the Holy Land, the desert, the wilderness. And this story happened way before Jesus, and just a little bit after Moses. Do you remember Moses? We met Moses in the cloud last week. Do you remember that? He was one of the twins. Crashing buildings. Remember last week the big cloud came down over the mountain? Do you remember? Yeah. And Moses was one of those. Anyway, this is a little after Moses. Moses has already died. But it's those people. And those people... Oh, the walls of Jericho. No, it's not the walls of Jericho, sorry. I'll tell that story sometime. But these people that were called Israelites, yes, they were in the desert, and they were still looking for a place to call home. They had no home. They were just out in the desert, kind of wandering around, and it was getting a little depressing because they just couldn't seem to find the place that Moses told them God was leading them to. And then, all of a sudden, they came up over this hill and they looked down, and in the valley, instead of just brown desert, there was this really nice land that was green and lush, and there was a river flowing through it. And the people thought, that must be our home. That must be where we're supposed to go. And so they moved down into this valley, and they brought their tents with them. And they not only brought their tents, but they brought their animals. They brought their sheep, and they brought their goats, and they brought their camels. In fact, they brought everything they owned, all their clothes, and they decided to make this their home. And the people were saying, what a beautiful land. There's grass for our animals to eat. There's really rich soil for us to grow things in so that we can eat. And there's water here. It was perfect. And there were big trees. There were trees with figs and other kinds of fruit for them to eat. And so the people they were looking at all this and they were so happy, and they said, how can we thank God for our new home? How can we thank God for this? And they thought, like, we can say thank you when we pray, but we need to do something. We need to do something to show our thanks. And then they remembered Moses, who had spoken to them many years before. And Moses said this, whenever you grow something, or whenever you pick something from a tree, give the first part of it to God. And so, the first melon would go to God. The first figs would go to God. The first grapes would go to God. And not only that, but when the sheep and the goats had babies, the first lamb and the first baby goat, the first kid, would go to God as well. And that was great, but then the people said, well, okay, but how do we actually give this to God? Because God's not like a person that we can say, here, God, we're giving you melons. I mean, God doesn't work like that. So they were a bit confused. How do they do it? And then they remembered Moses said something else. Sometimes Moses was smart. And Moses said, take those first fruits and take those lambs and take those baby goats and take them to the place where you worship God. Take them to the church, or to the temple as they called it. There's that. Perfect. Perfect. And what they realized is that when they took them there, other people that didn't have enough to eat, that didn't have goats or lambs, could now have this. That was the way they gave to God, by making sure that everybody had enough. And so, from then on, every year when they grew their fruit, and when they picked the fruit of the trees, and when they picked their carrots and their corn, every year a huge amount of that would go to help anyone who didn't have enough. I wonder how it would feel not to have a place to live, a place to call home. Hungry and cold. Yeah. I wonder how the people felt when they finally had this great place to live. Think they were excited? Yeah. And I wonder why they remembered Moses, who had lived so long before. Think God helped them to remember that? And I wonder how they felt when they were able to give some of what they had to others who didn't have enough. Yeah, it made them feel good to give. I wonder how we might help others that don't have enough. Any ideas about that? The food bank is a great place. Yeah, we have our food bank box right in the corner there. Yeah, drinks. Money. Build houses. Some people do that all over the world. You've got it all down. That's pretty amazing. Yeah, there's lots of things we can do. Lots of ways to be thankful. Oh, so it's like a loan that we give to people. Yeah, that's another great thing to do. Well, that's great. Well, I wonder if you can help me. We're going to, well, let's do that so that people can see and remember this story through the rest of the service. Okay? But we're going to sing a song, As Long As We Follow. It's number 140 in More Voices. And this is a repeat after me song, everyone. So some